Good morning. I'm Paula Montgomery. I'm a member of this congregation. My pronouns are she and her. I'm going to ask you please to silence all your electronic devices so we will have a nice, smooth service today. I want to take a few moments to welcome any guests who are here today. We want you to know we're very glad that you're here. If you would like to receive communication about us, please complete a guest card. You will find them on the credenza in the lobby out there. And you may return these to the greeters, leave them on the credenza, or place them in the offering basket if you happen to have them with you. We don't have a written order of service, but each of you has been provided with a document with information about us, and it looks like this, which you will return at the end of the service. Inside, you will find an opportunity to share with us any joys or sorrows that you would like to have recognized during this service. If you fill this out and put it in the offering basket when it comes around, then we will be able to acknowledge these later in the service. So, as is our tradition, we start with lighting our chalice. But we do that right after the announcements. And I have an announcement. Yeah. I want to extend special thanks to the worker bees who have straightened up our memorial garden and set up our Christmas tree. And they include Daniel Cobb, Heather Stefanescu, Hugh Ed Turner, Michael Newcomb, Kate Wolverton, Laurie Winterberg, and Jerry and Mary Lee Donnelly. Thank you all. And now we will begin our service with lighting the chalice. Our chalice lighting today is by Gordon B. McKeeman. Deep calls unto deep. Joy calls unto joy. Light calls unto light. Let the kindling of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of love, of peace, of hope, and as one flame lights another, nor grows the less, we pledge ourselves to be bearers of the light wherever we are.
Our opening words this morning are by the Reverend Gretchen Haley. Give up the fight for some other moment, some other life than here and now. Give up the longing for some other world, the wishing for other choices to make, other songs to sing, other bodies, other ages, other countries, other stakes. Purge the past, forgive the future, for each come too soon. Surrender only to this life, this day, this hour, not because it does not constantly break your heart, but because it also beckons with beauty, startles with delight, if only we keep waking up. This is the gift we have been given. These body clothes, this heartbreak, this pulse, this breath, this light, these friends, this hope. Here we remember ourselves, all a part of it all, giving thanks and centering joy. Come, let us worship together. I invite you now to rise as your body or spirit allow, meaning body in body or spirit, as we say the words to our church covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And this morning we light our Advent candle with Michael Newcomb and the Ansaldo Satterwhite family.
Second Sunday Advent. Peace waits for us at Advent. Peace waits for us to rest. Peace waits for our acceptance of the truth that we are blessed. In this time of preparation, peace is born in us each day.
Today we offer the light of peace to illuminate the door of welcome. May this light shine in our hearts, in our lives, and in our church. May peace awaken us to possibilities and lead us to greater hospitality. There is room in this place for a stranger and friend.
Thank you all so much. And now you're invited to rise as we sing our opening hymn, number 225. We sing with our masks on, O come, Emmanuel.
Captive children love, give comfort to all exiles here, and to the aching heart good cheer. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within as love to tell. Oh, come, you splendor. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within us all. you listen from on high, on depths that lie within the sky, to temper knowledge driven on men, to render every act of prayer. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come in that song to tell.
Rejoicing.
Thank you. We gather this morning on a day that falls in the midst of a number of religious holidays, all about light, or enlightenment, or finding answers to life's greatest mysteries. We need only let the universe speak to us to understand why this is so at this time of the year. Because at this time of the year in our part of the world, the hours of darkness are longer, and the daylight seems fleeting. It's usually colder also, a little further north maybe. Light and fire illuminate the darkness and bring warmth. Today is the second Sunday in Advent. For Christians, a time marked by a spirit of expectation, of anticipation, of preparation, of longing. There's a yearning for deliverance from the evils of the world, first expressed by the Israelites, the slaves in Egypt, and I suspect also being expressed by many of you today. On Wednesday of this week, Buddhists will celebrate Bodhi Day, the Buddhist celebration of the time when Prince Gautama took his place under the Bodhi tree, vowing to remain there until he attained supreme enlightenment. And our Jewish siblings will celebrate Hanukah. Hanukah, which means dedication, commemorates the day that the Maccabees liberated Jerusalem from invaders who outlawed Judaism and desecrated their temple. In order to cleanse the temple, holy oil was needed to light the temple's great menorah, or candelabrum. The Jews searched and searched, but found only a small cruse of sacramental oil, barely enough to last a day. Knowing it would take 8 days to prepare new holy oil, they went ahead anyway and used a little bit of oil to light the menorah. As the story goes, the oil miraculously burned for 8 days, and there was time to cleanse and then rededicate the temple. Rabbi Arthur Waskow has written about a kind of battlefield between the rabbi and the Maccabee. In other words, a conflict between the rabbinic and the Maccabean traditions in Judaism. For the rabbi, Hanukah celebrated God's saving spirit, not by might, not by power, but by a spiritual enlightenment that required a kind of inwardness and contemplation, which was contradictory to the insurgent politics. From the standpoint of the Maccabees, Hanukah celebrated human courage, the need to organize, to fight, to build might and use power. Many modern Jewish people see the real conflict not between the rabbi and the Maccabee, or between spiritual and political, but between apathy and hope, between a blind surrendering to darkness and an acting to light up new pathways. Sometimes the arena will be an outward action, and sometimes an inward meditation. But always the question is whether to recognize the darkness and transcend it. Rabbi Waskow explains, by recognizing the season of darkness, we know it is time to light the candles, to sow a seed of light that can sprout forth later in the year. Seen this way, Hanukah can become a time for accepting the Maccabee and the rabbi within us, seeing them as different expressions of the need to experience despair and turn toward hope. Seen this way, Hanukah can become a resource to help us experience moments of darkness whenever they occur throughout the year and strike new sparks. Today, Penny Featherstone will light the menorah and sing the blessing for us.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Hanukah. Blessed are you, Adonai, sovereign of the universe, who has commanded us to kindle the Hanukkah lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher, next verse. Shi'asa nisim la'avoteinu, v'imotenu, bayamim ha'hem, ba'azman hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who has performed wondrous deeds for our ancestors at times of old at this season.
Thank you so much, Penny, for that beautiful blessing and honoring of your tradition among us. And now we have the lights of many traditions burning in our sanctuary. And our young people are about to go and have some activities celebrating the holidays, and we will sing them on their way. Surround you everywhere, everywhere. I'm standing here and I just remembered the thou shalt not for ministers. Thou shalt not sing into the microphone. So the theme for this month is joy. And in this month of wonder and fantasy, I think writer Patrick Rothfuss captures the appropriate sentiment. When we are children, we seldom think of the future. The innocence leaves us free to enjoy ourselves as few adults can. The day we fret about the future is the day we leave our childhood behind. The quote is perfect for the introduction to Bodhi Day, which I mentioned, which will be celebrated on December 8th by many of the people in certain Buddhist traditions. Bodhi Day, the day that Prince Gautama received enlightenment and became a Buddha, or became awake, while sitting under the bo tree, meditating on how to be liberated from suffering. The Family Dharma page says this is a good time to integrate Buddhism into the winter holidays. The writer points out the long tradition of religions incorporating celebrations from other traditions. We know that the Christian celebration of Christmas was incorporated with the Roman celebration of Saturnalia and also with solstice customs. And Buddhism picks up bits of culture and custom from the countries it inhabits. So incorporating Buddhism and Bodhi Day into our list of winter celebrations is not such a far-fetched idea. As a young prince, Siddhartha Gautama was sheltered from the worries of the future, sickness, old age, and death. It wasn't until he was a grown man with a child of his own that he managed to wander outside of the palace walls and encountered these things in the real world. And the fact that this suffering exists hit him really hard. Even for those of us who've been privileged with years of innocence, which is rare, especially among certain populations in our country, that has changed. The pandemic has left us exposed to known and unknown fears and realities starting at a very young age. Children are keenly aware of the potential of contracting the virus, many of whom lost at least a year of regular contact with the world through school and extracurricular activities like sports and music lessons, gymnastics, dance, birthday parties, playing with friends. I think the list goes on. Some, sadly, lost family members or friends to the disease. Fretting about the future may come early these days. So learning to let go of the worry and reclaim some of the joy and innocence could be quite a task. All the more reason to spend a month thinking about how to do that. December offers all kinds of opportunities for play, for giving and receiving surprises, for tasty treats, for delighting in brightly colored lights and decorations, for getting out the photo album and revisiting cherished memories. If there is ever a time to reclaim feeling like a child or a kid, this would be it. And having little ones to play with helps a lot if you can find some. December is also a time when we receive reminders of how we can help people whose Christmas may not be so merry. Compassion for ourselves and others is often a pathway to our own comfort and joy. Which brings me to Jesus and Buddha, two religious prophets who actually had similar messages to share with the world. And not only that, there are some who have speculated that Jesus may have spent part of his life as a Buddhist monk. Some theologians have theorized that perhaps Jesus did not actually die on the cross. Their reasoning is that it would actually take longer than the time historically given for someone to die on a cross. There are reports of Jesus being seen alive after the crucifixion. I watched a BBC broadcast about this and read a little bit. And there is still mystery about the body disappearing. Now, in the long run, I doubt any of this really matters to us because the whole story is mysterious. All the stories are mysterious, and one or two discrepancies in the reasoning are not going to sway the millions of people who claim to believe certain things on faith. And for those of us in the liberal religious camp with Christian and Jewish roots and other roots as well, it is typically the teachings attributed to Jesus that matter most to us. Now, whether or not there was an actual physical resurrection. But the idea that Jesus might have been educated in the Buddhist faith and spent time as a Buddhist monk intrigues me. And this story also begins with a star. 500 years before Christianity, there was Buddhism. And then, when a great Buddhist holy man or lama died, wise men consulted the stars and other omens and set off to find the infant that would be the reincarnation of the Lama. When the child was old enough, he was taken from his parents and educated in the Buddhist faith. So here we have the possible origin of the story of the three wise men. And the question the theologians ask is, could Jesus have been taken to India as a child and taught as a Buddhist? Although later disputed by others, writer Nicholas Notovich claimed he discovered a manuscript in a Buddhist monastery in Tibet which tells of the divine child named Isa, born in the 1st century to a poor family in Israel. And I believe Isa translates to Jesus. This child came to India at age 14 and learned the teachings of Buddhism before returning to Israel at age 29, a possible explanation for the missing years that you may have heard John Prine sing about, or you might have heard it in other places also. After further research, which Notovich believed supported this theory, he wrote about it in his book titled The Unknown Life of Jesus Christ. There is even a grave in Srinagar, Kashmir, believed by some to be the grave or the tomb of Jesus. Like the Buddha, who emerged out of Hinduism to become known as the founder of Buddhism, Jesus came from the Jewish tradition to become known as the founder of Christianity. The teachings of Jesus and the stories about him, however, have a lot in common with Buddhism. In the book of stories called From Long Ago and Many Lands, edited by Sophia Foz, Reverend Sophia Foz, for Unitarian and Universalist religious education, she tells the stories of the unusual births of Buddha, Confucius, and Jesus, each destined to become a great king, none of whom actually did. Each turned to a life of searching and teaching, of contemplation and seeking enlightenment, of compassion for self and others, striving to find and share the inner light of peace and joy. Now, I'm always reminded in this season that the holidays can sometimes be a very difficult time. If everyone around you is celebrating and for whatever reason you are struggling to find the merry in the season, the M-E-R-R-Y, you might feel pretty isolated or downright sad or maybe even angry. Or maybe the holidays stir up memories that are both sweet and sad at the same time. If we endured a loss during the holidays, we may experience a sense of that loss more deeply every time that holiday comes around. Deep loss can cause us to lose our way. We may find ourselves in confusion, possibly despair, unable to see a new way. All the kinds of losses are many. I know there are some among you, I'm looking at your faces this morning, that are facing the holidays for the first time without a loved one or a close friend. Sometimes we grieve the loss of people in our lives or pets that have been our steadfast companions, or changes in our abilities, in our health. Perhaps some of our dreams are slipping away. Buddhism recognizes that change and loss cause us to feel out of kilter, and we've certainly had our share of change and loss in the last year and a half or more. We experience in our body as well as in our thoughts. I'm not sure that we always give ourselves permission to have compassion for ourselves, to have and allow ourselves to feel what we feel. Compassion for ourselves helps us discover our own creativity, the creativity to imagine options, to see through the fear and confusion or chaos. Like those people who stay in the wilderness or sit under a tree, who become teachers and prophets. We don't escape pain by ignoring it. So right now, into this gathering of comrades of the Spirit, I'm inviting compassion. As we hold just a moment in silence, let us acknowledge our struggles with loss or change, or the struggles of friends or loved ones whose lives touch ours. If there is a sorrow that you will carry with you throughout the season, I invite you to name that for yourself. And in a moment, I will ring this little chime, signifying an invitation for you to come forward and place a red ribbon, which I have here, on the wreath. The ribbon represents your particular loss or sorrow, something you would like to let go, or something you would like to transform into something helpful, perhaps for you or for someone else. The ribbons will reflect the joys or the sorrows, not the joys and sorrows, the sorrows of this gathered community. It is a tangible symbol for each of us. And it is, of course, possible that some of you are not feeling any of this right now, or that you're not ready to move in one direction or another. Sometimes, though, it helps us to embody something, to move and to do something, place something tangible somewhere, to honestly acknowledge what we're feeling. So it's enough if you want to just sit with your thoughts. Whatever you need right now is enough. We do not control the processes of life any more than we can wish a tree to grow when the seed has not been planted nor the earth properly prepared. In this fallow time of winter, we may choose to submerge ourselves in the fertile soil and wait to see what emerges in the spring. We may choose to lie in the fallow ground until the warmth of the sunlight and the gentle spring rain transforms the landscape around us, and therefore our inner selves. So in the quiet of this moment, sitting here together, let us acknowledge our losses and grief. O come, Emmanuel, and with your captive children dwell. Give comfort to all exiles here, and to the aching heart bid cheer. Rejoice, rejoice. Emmanuel shall come within as love to dwell. One colleague wrote, our version of this song expands the scope beyond the children of Israel to all people, grounded in the Unitarian or Universalist understanding that hope and salvation is for all souls, and that the appearance of a Messiah would bring broader help and healing to all. I love the expansiveness, she wrote, of this recast, and I don't find myself upset at all that the particulars are expanded. I believe the intent of the carol remains, and it becomes, for me at least, a richer hymn. Emmanuel shall come as the presence of love that dwells within. The presence of love within which we sense when we are awake and aware, and the presence we are able to offer one another. The mind of love is very wide, the Buddha said. It grows immeasurably and eventually is able to embrace the whole world. Karen Armstrong, who wrote 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life, warns us that before we embrace the world, we must focus on ourselves. We must have these feelings for ourselves before we can give them to others. So our deep looking to understand ourselves is in service of understanding others and embracing the world. As we grow in understanding of ourselves, we come to know deep within ourselves that we are connected to all that exists. And I certainly feel the connection this morning here among us. Like the oil that somehow kept the menorah burning for 8 days, we seek and hope to find what we need to see our way through the challenges that life hands us. Religion often answers questions of darkness and uncertainty for people, and Unitarian Universalists don't necessarily agree on any one particular way. Therefore, no minister can stand here and tell you, I know the light that will guide your path. But we have faith that deep within the recesses of your heart and mind and soul, you have the wherewithal to find your way back to reconciliation, to trust, to connection, to wholeness, to reclaiming the love and joy that brings you hope. A minute ago, I said that December is a time we receive reminders of how we can help other people, and that compassion for ourselves and others is often the pathway to our own comfort and joy. So now the invitation to look deeply into your own heart and mind, or heart-mind, and allow yourself to claim at least one thing that you know or understand, perhaps for having gone through this grief, or you're in the midst of that at this point. Something you understand that can be a gift to someone else, or a gift to the world. Perhaps you're not ready to answer that question yet. But the question is, what are the new sparks you hope to strike in this season of your life? And after a minute, I will ring the bell again and invite you to choose another ribbon, this time one of a different color, whatever color calls to you. A ribbon that represents your knowing. And that ribbon, when placed on the tree, will be a sign of hope, a sign of the compassion that you bring to the world. And I'll tell you, I'll stand there, and this time I'll remember to put my mask on, and I'll stand there, and you don't necessarily have to make a bow, because I realize that did take a while. If you want, you can just loop it one time, and it'll be a little faster. This one represents the hope. Is that real? Cover calls to you. What's your favorite color? Musicians get the praise around here. Well, I hope that lifted your spirits, and I hope that we're settled in our hearts and souls and minds to enter the holiday season in a anticipation of giving and receiving and sharing our lives with one another and being present to one another. Our joys and sorrows reflect those personal transitions, milestones, the sharing of which enriches our time together. The first one I want to share is that Honor Bell has fractured a leg and will need surgery, and that Honor is back in Pensacola. And from Charles and Marianne Hodges, completion of Marianne's cancer treatment. Yay, we are moving forward with building health and strength. And a sorrow for the Levitt family, for Ed Levitt, who is hospitalized for unknown medical concerns. And for all of the joys and sorrows that remain in our hearts, yet unspoken, we light one last candle. The spiritual gift, these are words from Parker Palmer. The spiritual gift on the inner journey is to know that creation comes out of chaos, and that even when what has been created, needs to be returned to chaos every now and then to get recreated in a more vital form. Now, isn't that what just happened today? The spiritual gift on this inner journey is the knowledge that in chaos, I can not only survive, but I can thrive, and there is vitality in that chaotic field of energy.
People of peace, the time is near, all the crowding of the year. Make your house fair as you are able, trim the hearth and set the table. People of peace that sing today, all the guest is on the way. Glad the world is there, one more seed is planted there. Give up your strength, but seek to nourish, back and towards the flower be flourished. People of peace that sing today, love the rose is on the way. The watch and night is there, one more light the gold shall brim, shining beyond the frosty weather, bright the sun and moon together. People of peace that sing today, love the star is on the way.
Our closing words are from Nancy Wood. All the buried seed crack open in the dark, the instant they surrender to a process they cannot see. Let us go in peace. Actually, let us stay, right? And share some, aren't we sharing some goodies? We have coffee hour, and are we doing any more decorating, or have we finished?
So we're doing more.
We're doing more decorating. Okay, more decorating. So we'll have a postlude, but you're welcome to mingle. And as soon as I find my mask, I'll go to the back so I can greet you.
Oh Christmas tree, how lovely are thy branches. Oh Christmas tree, how lovely are thy branches. Your boughs are green in summer's glow, and do not fade in winter's snow. Oh Christmas tree, how lovely are